This is a home video of our Thames cruise in London, UK on July 4th, 2022. And we went with our wonderful friends from Romania, Calin and Elena Bochis. And Calin and Elena came up and get us. We stayed in the Arab part of town of London. They came up to get us, and we all traveled down together through the buses. Oh, here we are at Selfridges. We had to take a quick photo of that. And anyway, we traveled down to Westminster Pier, which you'll see here shortly.
Only you have to watch.
Hey Lisa, look,
We make.
I'm taking a video of you being on the subway for the first time. So there we go.
Our beautiful friends. Subway.
And I have Elena. She's beautiful. She's in there too. And Calin, he's so smart and handsome.
Coming to an end.
I do. Jubilee line. There we go. Jubilee. Okay. Okay.
Easy when
Just check the sign.
but this you don't have connection, so you need to adapt. Yes. Yes.
And we arrived at Westminster Station, and we've got a few pics of us here. We had never been there before, so we're trying to get a few pics in before we get on the boat and are able to start our cruise. So Lisa and I hanging out, getting the shots of the Millennium Eye, the Thames River, and also some of the scenery here. And this is where we got our tickets. We had booked them, but we had to actually pick them up. And then we got onto the boat here, and then we're able to start, well, just getting some photos here, like Lisa with Big Ben in behind, and then also...
What's that?
The river is filthy.
Oh, I know, it is filthy. Now let me try. There. Let me show the other side of the river. There we are. There's the London Millennium Wheel. And this is our boat that we're on. This is the Westminster Pier. Big Ben. Houses of Parliament. Westminster Bridge. Yeah, this is great. We'll get some good shots while we go on. When we start up our trip. This has been 16 years in the making, so we want to make sure that we make sure we have a good video clip of us being here. Happy? I am happy. I'm happy that we're here. This is good. I'm happy that we made it. This is good. The Millennium Wheel. There it is. The London Eye.
Thank you for there's a photo.
Right in James Bond.
Yeah.
Was it in James Bond? It probably was.
Beautiful.
Cool. It's so big. I'm gonna have to. There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome aboard. So we're just going to make another stop. Here on the right, we've got a few people joining us. So just hold on tight as we berth. Now you've got a coffee bar. There's a licensed bar. There's toilets in the saloon. The stairs are at the back of the boat. So don't use the stairs at the front. Just the stairs at the back, please.
So these are a few pictures that I took while we were just getting ready to get underway on the boat. The Houses of Parliament, Elena, Lisa, and Calin near the Westminster Bridge. Got pictures of the Houses of Parliament and the Westminster Bridge, and also the Millennium Wheel on the south side of the dock. and picture of the other ferry, and the picture of the ferry itself looking from another direction, and picture of Calin with Big Ben and the tower in the background. Lisa and I, it's a real good shot there with Big Ben in the background. So yeah, the Houses of Parliament, another great shot. And I think that is just about it. There's another couple of shots looking sort of down the river toward the south, and a picture of the boat. It's a good sized boat, actually. So, and what else do we have here? Yep, picture of Tower Bridge in the background.
Is suburb,
So I'll stop.
and this is the south side of the river. So this is South London to the right, the south side of the Thames. And you've got the railway bridge here, Charing Cross. And if you follow the bridge along to your left, the station, Charing Cross in the West End. That modern glass building, it's been built to resemble something. What you're meant to be looking at is a train leaving a railway tunnel. And if you look at this building very closely, you will see that it does look nothing like a train. So I'm not too sure what he was on at the time. But at the night time when you saw it up, it looks like a jukebox. So an old Wernitzer. So the area is the West End, way to your left.
So that's the West End where all the
And
planes
there's a
are.
footbridge on both sides of the railway. So it's a very noisy bridge. You can hear the trains. The building to the right is soundproof from the railway. Our Royal Festival Hall. It's a concert hall. And we've had Pavarotti, Frank Sinatra, Elton John. They have all performed inside this building. On the ground floor, bars and restaurants. And as you walk along the river to the right, along the south bank of the river, there's lots of street entertainment. So many restaurants, art galleries. So it makes it a lovely walk, it does, all the way along the south bank of the Thames. On the river's wall to your left, an Egyptian obelisk, over 3,000 years old. Cleopatra's Needle.
Oh, right.
It was given to us by the Egyptians as we helped to defeat Napoleon and the French fleet at the Battle of the River Nile. Now those needles, they're made in pairs, and the twin, it's in America, Central Park, New York City.
Oh, good. Cool.
And the Waterloo Bridge, ladies and
Don't lose your
gentlemen,
phone.
Oh.
built in the Second World War, built by ladies. As our manpower was away, the ladies built the bridge.
Waterloo Bridge,
They call
wow.
it the Ladies' Bridge.
Fantastic.
Notice how clean it is as well. They built it with a Portland stone. When it rains, the outside gets a wash. Very dirty on the underside, of course. It's also the only bridge on the river that was ever finished on time
Wow.
and built under budget. So well done.
That's awesome. There's St. James.
On the right,
For St. Paul's, rather.
with a
St.
flashing
Paul's
display,
down there.
our National Theatre. There are 3 theatres inside the building. The main theatre, the Olivier. They named it after Laurence Olivier, the founder of the building. Away to our left, we're passing Somerset House. Years ago, a residence for the royal family. They built it
Somerset House.
in the 1700s. Today, that building is offices and a university, Somerset House. You can see to your left on the river's wall, the high tide mark, where the tide will be this evening, right up the wall. You can also see along the river's wall, they added lions' heads. And you will see lions' heads all the way along this river's wall. A Victorian flood indicator. So years ago, if the tide got too high, they could send out a flood warning. So if the tide got to the lion's mouth, there was a great fear of flooding in London. And there's a very old rhyme. It rhymes very well. If the lions are drinking, London is sinking. And if the heads are ducked, London's flooded.
If the heads
So
are
it goes
what?
very high up the wall.
What did you say?
It covers
If the heads
the
are ducked,
foreshore to the
London
right.
is
You can see the sandy bed, the
Use your
foreshore on the
Yeah.
river. So although the river looks dirty, the river is mud based. It's a very clean river today. And so we've got sandy foreshores on the river. Quite often you'll see seals in the River Thames. So we get many seals.
Oh, there's
in
the
this part of
OXO
river.
building
So
there.
there's a lot of fish now back in the Thames. On the right, a lot of the warehouses were taken down when all the cargo ended on the river. But they kept a few of them, and that red brick building, Stamford Wharf. But Londoners call it the OXO building. You can see the windows in the tower, OXO. The stock cube, the gravy granule, OXO. Years ago they made it in this warehouse. They've turned the warehouse into apartments. On the roof a restaurant, Harvey Nichols. Say OXO is a very famous gravy. So years ago they made it in that building. Next door, look on the rooftop, see containers. There's a few, top 2 floors is a restaurant, and it's called
This is St. Paul's
12
Cathedral.
Knot. So very nice up there. The rest of the building is
Where
offices
Lord Nelson is
for
buried.
sea containers. The tall glass building, these are the newest apartments on the river, sold for millions of pounds. The penthouse at the top, they sold it for 27 million pounds.
Wow.
To live anywhere near the river is going to cost you millions of pounds.
Wow.
And I don't live anywhere near the river, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously. Blackfriars Bridge.
Blackfriars.
There are 3 bridges here, 3 of them opened together. Queen Victoria opened the bridges. They're called Blackfriars. This is the Blackfriars Road, and the last one, the railway river. The top, it became unsafe. It used to carry steam trains, a railway from Dover all the way to London, the Victorian Steam Railway.
Wow.
over the Thames.
That's cool, isn't it?
So they was opened together by Queen Victoria. And as we come through the bridge on the right, if you walk along, there's a pub. There's quite a few pubs here. This one, the Founder's Arms. And with a tall chimney, our new Tate Modern. The largest modern art gallery in the world.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't cost
Tate Modern.
anything to go there. This is free to visit. One person. And that explains why it's free. Away to our left, St. Paul's Cathedral. Buried in the crypt, the architect, Sir Christopher Wren. You can stand above the dome, a viewing area. But to get to the top of the dome, there's over 500 steps. It's a great view standing above that dome. Also to your left at the City of London School. And you might recognise the bridge here from the Harry Potter movie,
Ah,
the Millennium Bridge. They opened this bridge in the year 2000.
cool.
On opening day, as thousands of people crossed it, the bridge started to shake and it became unsafe. And they had to close it for 2 years. They had to re-strengthen the bridge as it was shaking on the opening day. So it doesn't shake anymore, but they still call it the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge. So on YouTube, the opening day, you'll see people shaking as they walked across. On the right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the replica of William Shakespeare's
Globe
Theatre. There are plays performed here every single day and
Fantastic.
every single evening until October. It's an open-air theatre, and even if it rains, the show, it must go on. You're not allowed umbrellas inside the theatre. So if you go there, in case it rains, take a poncho. So they will perform in all weathers inside that room. If you visit this area, so it's called Bankside. And you've got more restaurants here, pubs. Behind the buildings on the right, the Borough Market. That is a lovely market to visit, the Borough behind these buildings. And we're now passing beneath Suffolk Bridge.
Suffolk
And
Bridge.
so we're being slowed down. Because now the tide, so it's coming towards us. And so it's slowing the boat down. In about 2 hours, when the tide's a bit higher, the container barge away to your left, it will start to float.
Oh, cool.
And on the high tide, they get taken out of London. All of London's garbage, 80% of it goes down the river every day.
Wow.
We send our rubbish by container out of London. They dump London's rubbish about 10 miles away, in front of the boat. A place called Essex. That is where we dump our rubbish from London. They use our rubbish in Essex as landfill. So the very marshy areas in Essex, that marshy wet land is where they pack London's garbage. And we're passing beneath a railway bridge at the station. It's away to your left, Cannon Street. So this is the oldest railway over the river, open 1866, Cannon Street. And on the right, another pub, door, a sailing ship, the replica of Sir Francis Drake's Golden
cool.
Hind, the first Englishman to sail the world in 1577, Sir Francis Drake. And we're now passing beneath the world famous London Bridge.
Ah, London Bridge. Here's the
The
London
most historical bridge over the river. This is our new London Bridge. It was opened 1973. But ladies and gentlemen, there's been a bridge here for 2,000 years.
Wow.
When the Romans came to London,
Walkie-talkie.
this is where the Romans built a
Gherkin.
bridge. And there's always been a bridge here ever since. The 5th London Bridge.
Shard.
The London Bridge before this, it was slowly sinking in the 60s, and we took it down. An American bought the bridge, Mr. McCulloch, and he paid $2 million for the old London Bridge.
And
He had it
we've seen
taken
it.
down, shipped to America, and rebuilt. He had the bridge built in the Arizona desert,
Lake
a
Havasu.
place called Lake Havasu in Arizona. So that is where the old London Bridge stands today, in the desert in America.
That's right.
So we had shipping right up to London Bridge. So Tower Bridge opens, but none of the others do. And so years ago shipping went right up to London Bridge.
Comes the HMS Belfast.
You look on the right and you've got the Shard of Glass. There's a hotel in the middle, the Shangri-La Hotel. And near the top, there's a viewing level. And so you can go to the top, but you have to pay £45. It's quite expensive to go up the Shard.
Window cleaners on the shore.
Maybe
Wow.
save some money, save a few bob. Look on the left, there's another tall office building. And you can stand at the top of that building on the balcony, and it doesn't cost a penny. To go up there, it's free. Just Google Sky Garden and book a ticket for free.
That's where we're going. Right.
Try and save some.
Cool. All right. HMS Belfast.
Now in the river to the right, there's a warship, HMS Belfast. Built in Belfast at Northern Ireland. Built in the same shipyard that also built the Titanic.
Absolutely.
So you saw lots of action in the Second World War. It's open to the public. It's a museum today. It's a very interesting on board. Very, very enjoyable on board the ship. We're going to go past the ship towards the bridge, and then we'll turn the boat. So we'll turn the boat side on before the bridge. So we've got Tower Pier to your left, and we're going to go past the pier, and we're going to turn the boat in front of the bridge.
Yep, Tower
So
of London.
hopefully you'll get a nice photo.
Now I did split the video to insert a few of the photos that I took while we were going along. One of them was the OXO building, the surface of the boat. I think I had actually inserted a few of these earlier in the video with the Tower Bridge in behind, and then a picture of me and Lisa with Tower Bridge in behind here. And oh, the Tower of London, a great shot of the Tower of London as we're cruising by it. And then closer shots of Tower Bridge as we approach it. Tower Bridge doesn't open up anymore, but it used to up until I guess about 20 years ago. But yeah, some good shots of Tower Bridge here. It's a pretty iconic view when you're going through London. And a picture of me here with the background of the Tower Bridge, and a couple of pics of Lisa. Profile shots there.
Now years ago, the ships came in on the high tide. When the tide was high, the bridge opened and the ships came in, and then the ships could
Lisa,
berth.
let me get a picture of you with London Bridge behind
All
us.
the warehouses were taken down when the ship, the round glass building, the mayor's office, the mayor of Greater London. So he's a very popular man, and that's his office, City Hall. Remember his name? So that's how popular he is. That's his office, City Hall. That's it, Sadiq Khan. That's his name. He's the mayor for London. He's just been re-elected again for another 4 years to serve London as the mayor.
Can I get a shot of
And we're
this?
going to hold the boat now. And before we walk to your left, and there's a bricked up archway, and it's got the words above it, entry
to Traitors'
to
Gate.
the Traitors' Gate. So years ago, traitors, they were taken by rowing boats through the arch. This was said to be London's first one-way street. If you ever went through there, you would not be coming back out.
Aye.
The most common form of execution at the Tower was beheading. So years ago at the Tower, your head was chopped off. Your head was then dipped into boiling tar, and they would put your head on a spike and display it from London Bridge behind us as a warning to any would-be traitor. Some very famous people, who I'm sure you've heard of, were taken through the arch. Anne Boleyn, Lady Jane Grey, Guy Fawkes, and the bravest man, William Wallace, who I'm sure many of you know much better as Mel Gibson. Braveheart. He went through the arch in 1305 to be hung, drawn and quartered. So they chopped him into 4 bits. Very, very gruesome, the history inside the castle. But it's also been a palace, it's been a residence, an observatory, a zoo, say a royal zoo. Before they moved the animals to London Zoo. So it was a zoo years ago. But so I think we know it best as a place of today. But apparently it does open tomorrow. So you might want to see the bridge open. I say on the right as well, as you can see now, that's it. Take your photos of the castle. You know, the Traitors' Gate now. Well, we've turned the boat to go back to the pier, but we'll have to turn again. Because say we're now from behind by the tide. And what we like to do, we like to steer the boat into the tide. It just slows the boat down easier. So you turn into the tide. So we'll turn again. Just hold on, just in case.
Lisa would love it.
It's an amazing place. No,
too
Lisa, it's an
embarrassed.
amazing place and safe and.
I'm too old.
Oh, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
No,
You're gorgeous.
believe me,
Trust me.
there are a lot of people.
Lisa, you are so
Beautiful picture.
It's your picture. Thank you.
I have beautiful subjects. How could it not be
Okay,
that beautiful?
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're on our way now to Greenwich.
Cool, look at this.
So if you look at the top
Going
of
under the bridge.
the very top, you can see they've added glass. You can stand on the glass as you walk across. So at the top of the bridge, it's a museum today. But years ago, it was always free to cross at the top, and the bridge used to open. So that bridge used to open about 20 times a day years ago. Up until the early 80s, we still had shipping all the way down the river on both sides, and
that's
behind
cool.
us, to London Bridge.
That is cool.
Ships arrived from all over the world with all types of cargo. Butler's Wharf on the right was a tea warehouse. It's where they stored tea. These are apartments today, very expensive. And on the ground floor, many restaurants as well. Le Pont de la Tour, Cantina, all bar one. So there's some lovely restaurants at Butler's Wharf. And for our new passengers, just quickly mention the safety. So the life jackets are at the front of the boat on both decks. And the inflatable life between the buildings. There's a creek. And so the tide is now flooding. But on the low tide, it's very muddy. And if you look to the top of the creek, you'll see the mud. And it's in the mud where Fagin drops the jewels at the end of Oliver.
Oh, wow.
At the very top of that creek, Jacob's Island. And it's mentioned in the novel Oliver. It's where Fagin lived with his den of boy thieves at the top of the creek. The man who wrote Oliver, Charles Dickens, this is where he grew up.
Oh, wow.
And he knew Bermondsey very well. And he was famous for the criminal activity. He was famous for the thieving, the muggings, the pickpocketing that went on in this area. And to be honest with you, it really hasn't changed a great deal. Even today, Bermondsey is famous for the criminal activity, the thieving, the pickpocketing. It's only along the river where it's been redeveloped. So you haven't got to walk too far inland to find some very
Garbage barge.
deprived, some very tough parts of London. Very similar on the left as well. So this area is called Wapping, and Wapping is in the east end of London. So the area from Tower Bridge to Canary Wharf is the east end of London. So our base, where we base, is ahead of us on the right. That's our base. Cherry Garden Pier. So famous for the cherry trees in the area. The main road is called Jamaica Road. And so this area was very famous for the ships that arrived from Jamaica with all the spices, the rum. A lot of rum came here. And there's actually a large residence in South London of Jamaican people. So a very large Caribbean residence.
Oliver's
South
Wharf.
London. And if you look away to your left at Oliver's Wharf, just before it there's a pub at the top of the stairs. The town of Ramsgate, a very old riverside pub. And it's where they took pirates years ago. So if you was found guilty of piracy, you was executed.
Oh, wow.
You was always taken to that pub though for your last drink. Usually a tot of rum. And then at low tide, they would bring you down the staircase onto the foreshore. And all the way around this bend on the left at low tide, it's a stony foreshore. And they had wooden spikes in the shore. And they chained the pirates to the spike. They were left there to drown.
Ah,
So that is what we've done to pirates on this river years ago. Before we had police on the river, pirates were executed. And they only founded the river police 1798. So up until then, it was very, very tempting to steal cargo from the river. So there was no police, there was no security. London was a very poor place and people came to the river to steal. So if you was ever caught thieving, you were the most famous pirate to be drowned at Wapping from Scotland was Captain Kidd. And there's a pub
right
on the
there.
left that named after him.
Captain Kidd.
So you can do research about piracy. Just look on Google, go on YouTube. But I think the best way to learn about it is by visiting that pub. So you go to that pub, and that's probably the best way to learn it. And that's what we do, me and my friend. Nearly every evening after work, we do research, ladies and gentlemen. So we research in all the pubs this commentary. So for your benefit, of course.
Well done.
Is anyone from America on the boat today? Happy Independence Day today, 4th of July. A very important piece of American history is on the right. You can see the flags in the balcony. That pub, it's called the Mayflower. And you look on the rooftop of the pub,
Where?
a model of the ship. That is the very pub where the Mayflower set sail from in 1620.
Oh, there it is.
The Mayflower, the crew, they sailed out to sea and they stopped at Portsmouth, Dartmouth and Plymouth, collecting Pilgrim Fathers. They were sailed across the Atlantic to the New World, the Promised Land. Some of those Pilgrim Fathers became the founding fathers of the USA. So you can visit that pub, and inside the pub on the wall, it's got every single pilgrim's name who made that journey aboard the ship. So it's a great place to research in for American history. So I've never been to America before, although I have been in a state or two a few times before. Just seeing if you listen to it. Terrible joke.
We got it.
Now there's a tunnel underneath the river. It's a car tunnel, the Rotherhithe Tunnel. The red brick building to the right is the air shaft. And there's also one to your left ahead of us. So they never built bridges in this part of the river, but we do have a tunnel under the Thames. Now the oldest pub anywhere, the oldest pub on the River Thames, it's away to your left. It's over 500 years old. The Prospect of Whitby. Now Whitby is in Yorkshire. And years ago ships would have arrived here from Whitby. The coal colliers came to London from Yorkshire. All the coal was delivered on the left. And a very famous sailor to bring coal to London, Captain James Cook. And Cook used to visit that pub. And there's a lovely piece of history about Cook inside the pub. He later joined the Navy and he charted the world. And he came across the Hawaiian Islands, where he was eventually killed on his 3rd visit by the natives.
Right.
So you can see to your left that red brick building, the air shaft. You look above it and there's a church, St. Clement's. And if you keep looking in the distance to your left now, very shortly, you're going to see a red helicopter on a blue rooftop. The Royal London Hospital in Whitechapel. That is the air ambulance for London. And Whitechapel is where the Jack the Ripper murders took place in 1888. The red brick building to your left, these are apartments built in a special design, so every single apartment has a view of the river. So if your property has a view of the river, it nearly doubles the price. I say every apartment sold with a view of the Thames.
Cool.
They call the warehouse Free Trade Wharf. And the reason for this, in 1665, the plague of London. No country would come to London through fear of catching the plague, except the Dutch. Holland, they still came here, and they arrived with food and medicine supplies. And they also brought with them citrus fruits, because Londoners believed that citrus fruit would keep the disease at bay. And when all the ships arrived here from Holland, that church, St. Clement's that we mentioned, it would ring its bells, and then Londoners could come to the river to get their produce. And you might have heard of a nursery rhyme song, oranges and lemons ring the bells of St. Clement's. So that is where the nursery rhyme song comes from. Now, as a thank you to the Dutch, we gave them free trade. And even to this day, if a Dutch vessel comes to London, they pay no port fees or taxes. They still get free trade.
Wow. That's
We
cool.
also gave the Dutch barrels of rum for their journey back to Holland, hoping that they might come back again for more rum. And it's where we get another saying of Dutch courage. They say they were very brave men that came to London. They say we gave them rum. And so we say that in this country, if you're worried about something, have a bit of Dutch courage.
It's Canary Wharf straight up.
So these were very dangerous areas on the left, the East End, years ago. So in Victorian times, a very dangerous part of London. You wouldn't want to walk around here if you didn't know it too well. So a very dangerous place, but redeveloped today. And it's a lovely area to visit. And there's a pub on the left, and it's got the golden lettering on the rooftop. It's called the Grapes.
The Bronfmans and Conrad
And a
Black
very famous
helped
actor
develop Canary
owns the
Wharf.
pub. And he lives a few doors away. You can
Oh, the
see the
Grapes.
yellow statue on the balcony. The man that lives there, he owns the pub. Sir Ian McKellen. So he starred as Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. He's in the
Grapes.
pub most evenings.
Right.
So I've seen him there quite a few times before. So the last time I went was about 2 months ago. And he was actually serving behind the bar.
That's
I
cool.
told him, of course, that I work on the river. And I also mentioned to him that I tell thousands of people about his pub every single day. Always recommended his pub to all the passengers. He still charged me nearly £7 he did, a pint of lager. A pint of beer, £7. I've not been back since. So you find these pubs only survive really through tourism and,
Lisa?
and the people
Lisa?
that live nearby. So these are very
Turn
expensive.
around.
These riverside
Stand up,
pubs.
turn around.
So years ago, when we were kids, every street corner had a.
I just wanted to cut in at this point and show some of these photos that I took while we were going through this part of London. It's not part of the video clip, but I just thought I'd show these in between before we get back to the video clip as I took them while we were going. So yeah, it was pretty fun to be able to take these photos while we were listening to the audio from the tour.
Pub in London.
Good.
All the docks inland were very busy with
Yesterday
shipping.
we
The
went,
river was
we
busy.
went here in
And so there were
Canary Wharf.
literally
Oh, did
pubs
you?
everywhere
And we
years ago.
stayed there.
And it was filled with dockers and
There
people
is
that worked on the
quite,
river. They say all the
You see
docks
that
are
over there
closed.
somewhere.
There's no more shipping.
Okay.
They say all the pubs are closing all over London. So not many pubs left. It's going to become very windy.
A lot of this was built
This
by
next part of the
Canada.
river as we turned the corner.
That's why they call it.
So look at the
Canary Wharf.
foreshore on the right, look how clean, look how sandy the foreshore is. So all that shore will be covered at high tide. We've been heading east all the way down the river. We was heading east, but now we're heading south. Because on our left, there's a massive bend in the river. It's a horseshoe shape. If you've ever seen a map of the River Thames before, that large horseshoe shape, this is it to our left. The river continues all the way round to the other side of Canary Wharf. The other side of Canary Wharf is the O2 Arena, the Millennium Dome. But so we don't go as far as the O2. We go ahead of us around the bend to Greenwich, and that's as far as we go. This area to your left, it's called the Isle of Dogs. Years ago, a man-made island. Look back on the left where the River Wall changes, where that bus is. And they actually dug a canal through there, right through to the other side. So at high water, shipping could cut through, instead of sailing all the way round this way.
Oh wow.
So they turned it into an island, and they called it the Isle of Dogs. The royal family used to live at Greenwich years ago, and they had hunting dogs, and they would have kept dogs on the land to your left. So once upon a time, all this area was open land. They called it Stepney Marshes. It's now called the Isle of Dogs. So this is the East End of London behind them. People are fascinated by this area. So it's where all the Cockneys used to live years ago. Also famous for their gangsters in the 60s. They were twin brothers, Ronnie and Reggie Cray. And the Cray twins, they controlled the East End.
Oh yeah, it's fast, isn't it?
It's where they base an educational programme on the telly. It's called EastEnders.
Right.
And so that programme is based on the area behind us. So you might have seen that programme before. So this is the East End, where they base EastEnders. So if you've ever been to the East End before, if you ever go there, you'll probably soon start to realise that that programme is nothing like the area in real life. You see, in real life, it's worse. So I don't tend to go there much. I tend to stay on the south side of the river.
Right.
So I'm from the south, and you find that Londoners, they very rarely cross the river in London. They never cross the river to live. So we always stay on our own side of the river, north or south. Up until the 1800s, on the whole stretch of the River Thames, there was one bridge. Until the 1800s, there was one bridge, London Bridge. There was no other bridges or crossings. You had to pay to use London Bridge as well. You had to pay to cross it. So not many people used to cross the river, and they still don't today. What Londoners do though, they leave London now. Like most Londoners will leave and go out to their counties, say Essex or Kent. And that depends on what side of the river you're from, where you go. So if you're over there, from the north side, so they normally stay north, they move out to Essex. And on the south siders go to Kent. And you find that so many people now are leaving London.
So you say
it's so expensive.
the brick buildings over there?
Yes, exactly, over there.
Okay.
So we've got a congestion charge in London. You have to pay to drive into the city. But our very popular mayor, Sadiq Khan,
Where is yellow?
he's made a
Yellow ad. Yellow
so
ad.
there's a massive area
See
now
a
to
yellow
drive
ad
into
there?
London.
Yes.
If your car is
100 meters there.
Oh,
it
okay.
passes the ULEZ, you have to pay to drive in. It's about
That's
£12
because
a
the
day.
Surrey Quays Pier.
Yeah, sorry, kids.
So we normally drive to
4 minute
work,
walk.
Yeah, 4
but you
minutes.
can't
4
park
minutes, yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere's permit parking.
Yeah.
So rent or to buy property is so expensive. So most people, they end up leaving London.
Such expensive.
So that's what we've all done. All my friends that work here, none of us live
Where
in
is,
London.
are the
We've
car?
all left,
Are the car in
and we all
this
commute
direction?
every
Yellow,
day
yellow
back to
door.
London.
It's our door. Yellow door.
Oh, really?
Yes.
These areas were
Okay.
very
Yellow,
deprived
white,
of
white,
places.
White, the white. Okay.
Deptford had a terrible name years ago. So, but now it's very popular to live in. So it's been redeveloped, and it will cost millions of pounds. And then ahead of us, we're entering Greenwich very shortly. So Greenwich is a royal borough. So we've got 32 boroughs of London, but they made Greenwich a royal borough for the 2012 Olympics. And that also added value to all properties in the area when it became a royal borough. You won't find anything cheap in this part of the river. All these apartments are about £2 million each.
Oh my God.
If you're overlooking Tower Bridge, about £10 million.
Oh my God.
You can now see down the river. Round the bend, you've got Greenwich Park. It's a lovely hilltop. On the left, the white ramp in the river. Look above the white ramp on the hilltop, and that's the observatory.
Oh, that's
that
Greenwich.
castle-like building at the top of the hill. That is Flamstead House, and that is where east meets west.
Right.
So 0 meridian, it runs through Greenwich. It's up on the hilltop there,
Cutty
where
Sark.
we calculate GMT every single day. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we calculate GMT.
Cutty Sark. The ship. It's the
You might
masted
not
ship.
see it too
To
well
your
from
left.
here, although I can see it. On top of Flamstead House, there's a T-bar. There's a red ball at the bottom of the T-bar bend, waiting for that ball to drop at 1 o'clock. Because at 1 o'clock, they could set their ship's clock. They'd have a very accurate time. They'd know their position of 0 meridian, and then they could navigate out to sea. It's a very important job it was to set the ship's clock to 1 o'clock.
There's the Royal Palace. It's now the
To save everybody in the
Naval
ship
College.
waiting for that ball to drop. One person was given the job to set the ship's clock. His job was to be on the ball. So he had to wait and watch that ball drop at 1 o'clock. His job on the ball. So if you know someone who's very well organised, a good timekeeper, you would say that person is on the ball. The captain would tell that person the ball drops very quickly, so make sure you keep your eye
on the ball.
Another phrase you might have heard of, to keep your eye on the ball. So it's a naval term. It's how the ship set GMT. There's Greenwich, well, it was a naval base years ago. Those large white buildings, that is where they trained the Royal Navy years ago. But those buildings are now used by Greenwich universities. So that was the Naval College years ago. The Navy is now based in the south of England.
Portsmouth.
So my eldest brother was in the Navy down at Portsmouth. And so I came out on the river. So to work on this river, we have to serve an apprenticeship for 5 years. So as soon as we leave school at 16, you'll get apprenticed for 5 years. You get apprenticed by a freeman of the river. And after 5 years, you take an exam and you become a freeman. And it's a family tradition. So my eldest son, he works on the river. So he works in the Thames. He's in his 5th year of his apprenticeship. My other son, he wants to work at sea. So he's down at Plymouth, not in the Navy, at university. But so there's no more naval, no more shipping it. So it all takes place around the south coast. So, but this was the naval dockyards, the naval base was here years ago. So you've got these new apartments on the right, these glass buildings. Follow them along to the last one. And now look up on the hilltop, and there's that ball, that red ball and that T-bar. So it goes up at 5 to 1, and it drops very quickly at 1 o'clock. If you now head west, you want to go to America, there are 12 time zones. All the way to Hawaii, 12 time zones west. And as you travel through them, you subtract hours from Greenwich.
Yep.
The further you go, the more hours you take off. But if you now go east in front of us, you head towards New Zealand. There's also 12 time zones, but you're adding hours. So as you go east, you add, you go west, you subtract. And every single clock in the world is then calculated from Greenwich at 1 o'clock. So Greenwich is where time begins. East meets west here, 0 meridian.
Crazy.
So they also call Greenwich the centre of the universe, ladies and gentlemen. And you don't look very impressed. So the centre of the universe. The glass dome on the right, there's a glass dome to your left. Well, for the dockers that worked on the left, they built a foot tunnel under the river to gain access, as no bridges were built because of the ships. So they built a tunnel, and it is still open and it's free. It doesn't cost anything to walk underneath the river. The sailing ship on the right, the Cutty Sark, built in Scotland. Years ago, she sailed to India and China for tea. She brought tea back to London. Behind the ship, you've got the shops, the restaurants, and there's also a market here at Greenwich. So it's a lovely place. So there's a boat on the pier, although he should have left by now. I think that boat is a bit late today. So we've been behind him all day, running around him. So that boat will leave and we'll be the next boat to leave.
Okay, so the video clip is over for the moment, and I just thought I'd kind of narrate some of these photos. So this is where we got off at the Greenwich Pier.
Cool. Yeah, we can't stay here too awful long.
No, this one at.
Okay, here we are in Greenwich, and this is the Cutty Sark. We're not going to go on board because it's yet another umpteen pounds or whatever, but it's just really cool to be here to see it. It's huge. For a sailing vessel, it's really large compared to what we're used to seeing. So yeah, that's really neat. Pretty cool. Like it. And we're going to go down to the Gypsy Moth here. We'll take a wander down to the Gypsy Moth. Oh, sure. It's famous for something, yeah. The Gypsy Moth. We're right at the Prime Meridian, or very, very close to the Prime Meridian here.
Take a picture. It's a nice streetscape.
Okay, so I'm gonna hop in again here and just show that these photos are being taken just as we're coming into Greenwich at the end of the first half of our boat tour. And there's gonna be, well, you just finished watching a couple of videos of us landing at Greenwich Pier and kind of walking around the area there. This is the Cutty Sark from the water, and these photos here are just us going up the ramp and getting off onto Greenwich. And so we split up for a little while because I couldn't do a lot of walking here. But Calin and Elena, they went and did a little bit of walking around themselves. Lisa and I kind of did a bit of touring around ourselves and saw the Cutty Sark and the outside of it. I can't remember what it cost to go in, but I think it was a bit cost prohibitive. So we decided, oh, well, we'll just do a bit of walking around here and have a look at some of the buildings. It was a beautiful area. The Universal Time building is close to here, but I couldn't walk that far, so we didn't actually end up going there. But got some great shots of Lisa, got some great shots of the landscape and the buildings here, and it was just really nice being at Greenwich and having a time to be able to relax before we headed back on our cruise on the way back. So they didn't do a narrated tour on the way back, and so you won't hear as much descriptions on the way back. But anyway, I just thought I'd put these in here just for interest's sake.
A royal observatory. It's even been a royal zoo. We even kept an elephant in there once. For these days, best known for being a place of torture and execution.
Lovely.
It's now where we look after the Queen's royal jewels. The real ones, of course. Now, one of the ladies that was executed at the Tower of London was called Queen Anne Boleyn. Queen Anne Boleyn, she was kind of lucky, if you ask me, as she had her head cut off with a sword by an expert French swordsman. And this was because she was royalty. Now, if you were an unlucky commoner, you could have had your head lopped off with an axe by the state executioner. And this is something that could have taken 4 or 5 swings of the axe before your head came clean off. And if you were a bit of a celebrity, they would have taken your head, rammed it through a spike, and then left that on London Bridge, just ahead of us, to scare off all the would-be criminals coming into London. Happy to say we don't longer do anything like that these days. Now, over to your left-hand side, slightly ahead of us, we've got a warship. Now, this is the...
Now, I just realized as I was making this movie that I stopped the video before the crew director was going to talk about the HMS Belfast, but we did get a view of that on the way down. So I thought I'd put a few of these photos in here of us on the way back. So there's a picture of Lisa on board there, and just some shots of the city, the walkie-talkie, the some of the other interesting looking buildings there, the Shard, the Tower Bridge views, the Gherkin, you can see it there with some of the other buildings. Can't remember the names of all of them now, but just different shots of boats along the shoreline, some of the apartments along the shoreline, and also the other tour boats. There's quite a few of them on the river. Shots of the Tower Bridge again as we go past it. And what else have we got here? Yep, another picture of Tower Bridge. More of the Tower of London, which is an amazing tour in itself as we go by there. And then we've also got some more shots of the modern London with some of the new apartments down along by the river, and that'd be on the north side. And another nice shot of Lisa, a couple of nice shots with Tower Bridge in behind. The glass round building up there is the mural office building. Tower Bridge again, that's a great picture of Tower Bridge. And so, yeah, just lots of these photos I wanted to get in here because a lot of times don't have time to go back and look at the photos so much as we do of videos. So I thought that I would include these in here before we get back to the video segment. So didn't realize how many shots of Tower Bridge. I guess I was kind of infatuated with Tower Bridge and the Tower of London as we came back. But anyway, and what else have we got here? St. Paul's Cathedral. Yeah, Lisa and I actually have a video of St. Paul's, and I'll do that one up as well because it's an amazing view. We got some great shots of it from the Hanging Garden or the Walkie-Talkie building, and hopefully we'll get that video together as well. And besides St. Paul's, what have we got here? We've got, oh yeah, views of our tour boat. There's a lot of people on the tour on Blackfriars Bridge. The lions, there's significance for flooding along the walls. as we come
It was
back
given to us by a very thankful Egyptian viceroy to commemorate Lord Nelson's victory over Napoleon during the Battle of the Nile.
Wow.
It's one of a
3,000
pair,
years old.
and the sister to this is in Central Park, New York City.
And as we come back to our starting point, we see the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben, the Clock Tower, and Lisa with the Millennium Wheel, the London Eye
Way back
behind her.
in the year 2000, only scheduled to stay there for 5 years, but 22 years later, still here, still spinning. The reason for this, the same reason for everything, I'm afraid.
Makes money.
It's all to do with money. In one single day, the London Eye has been known to make up to £250,000.
Sweet. I want
That is
one.
£250,000. So, we are thinking
I
of
want
changing its name to the Wheel of Fortune. Now, it has got 32 capsules that surround it, and that represents the 32 boroughs that make up Greater London. But if you were to go on there today, you may find yourself on pod number 33, and that is because they've left.
Right, and that was the end of the tour, and here we are back off of the tour, making our way back to where Lisa and I were staying in London.
It's not so much that, it just, for whatever, it just seems to take a long time to flip into video mode. Pleasant sounding, isn't it? Just about tear the ears right out of your head, wouldn't it? I think.
And at the end of a perfect day, a wonderful day, where we spent it with Calin and Elena, and it was so wonderful to come get us and to be with us for the day. We went to Helen's, which is a lovely Lebanese Arabic restaurant, and had some wonderful food there, and just had an amazing time with our wonderful friends Calin and Elena from Romania. And yeah, this topped it off. Just have had an amazing time in London. I don't think we'll probably ever have quite the same kind of adventure again, but it sure was wonderful, and it was very memorable for both of us for sure.